know where I got it, just maybe being a little bit more of a contrarian. But from there, if I get in the room, what am I going to do next?
When people try to be strategic, they can sometimes get stuck in like that analysis paralysis because they're overthinking all of their plans of what they think is going to work.
People saw that you could come to me and get support. And that whole process of positioning myself as an educator by first educating is what did it.
You don't just write down your goal. You write it down and you put a date too. So I'm going to do this, you be specific, and I'm going to do it by this date. And then you say it out loud.
Yeah. Putting yourself out there with accountability and other humans is very helpful.
People, they need the support, but they don't typically want to pay for it. Okay, we are back on Create with Kate, and I am so excited for our guest today. We have Shannon Matson, and she is the owner of the Social Bungalow and Bungalow Coffee downtown in the Arts District here in Las Vegas. And we used to work together many years ago at True Fusion, and she was such an inspiration to me then, and even more so now with all that you've accomplished in such a short period of time. So I'm just so excited to dive in and, connect and learn.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and see everything that you're doing and how much you're inspiring people, myself included, to get out there. And you show up so consistently in everything that you do, like all areas of life. I know that on any given day, every quadrant, you're going to give Kate's 100%, which is a regular person's 150. So you too have always been somebody that I've looked up to and really enjoyed seeing you as a mother and seeing you in business and everything you've done.
Well, that really means a lot to me, especially coming from you. Because, you've always worked so hard and you're just so smart. Like, I always just think of you as like, not only are you personable, beautiful, all of these other things, but you're just very, very smart and a great businesswoman. And I think like so many people can learn from you and really accelerate the growth of their businesses because you've figured all these things out and you're so strategic. Because a lot of people can achieve success in sales, but to sustain it properly, and really make an impact, I think you got to get into the details, which you do really well.
Thank you. I think I just was recently listening to a podcast where they had an author on, and I can't remember his name, but his book was called The Third Door, and he was talking about how with entrepreneurs, most people in society, you see them at a nightclub standing in the main line, crossing their fingers that they get in, and that's the first door. And then you've got the people who were born into money or influence or have finally made it, and they're in the second door, which is VIP. Okay. But then there's the entrepreneurial folk in the world who they find some sort of scrappy third door to go in through the side. And I think that there's this level of tenacity that needs to be in all of us, and there's just so much more we could be doing. And that's always been deeply ingrained in me. I don't know where I got it, just maybe being a little bit more of a contrarian. But from there, if I get in the room, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
And I think that there's this balance between a relentless energy and a strategic energy, and being able to find for an entrepreneur, the marriage between the two is everything. Because it's not about just knocking on the door. It's making sure that every single one of those knocks has a little something different about it and a little something better for the person on the receiving end. Yeah,
that's a really good point. And so being relentless, and then, but not like, I think the struggle for most people would be, okay, you're strategic and relentless, but when people try to be strategic, they can sometimes get stuck in like that analysis paralysis because they're overthinking all of their plans of what they think is going to work. But so how do you experience that? And then how do you break through that? Or do you not even experience that at all?
I do. Yeah, definitely in the overthinking realm of it. I think if I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, yeah, I have been in those phases, but I've still taken action. What's it been? And honestly, it's been that I've set myself up with these maybe social responsibilities. There was an era of my business where I was doing these income reports on a monthly basis. So I had to go live.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and people knew I was going live and that I was going to be sharing what I made that month, how I made it, where it came from. And that was a really nice transparency for people in online business to see what was possible and what the breakdown was. And I would feel like a lazy day or week and think, oh, I want to decline this person, or I don't want to work hard and release that course. And then I'd be like, oh, I got that income report going, and I really want to make sure that I'm continually inspiring them to show the needle moving. Now, that's not to say that entrepreneurship doesn't ebb and flow, and that should be talked about too. But there was that component. Then there's been other instances where I've just said, okay, I'm releasing it on this date and I have currently nothing done and that's in 3 weeks from now. And so I just need to make it happen. So the difference, I would say, has been forcing myself out of the nest because of that.
Yeah, there's that accountability from your followers because you put it out there.
Yes.
So then you have to follow through so you don't get stuck.
Yes.
It's just, I'm going to get this done and whatever it is, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have time to overthink it. Maybe.
And it makes me think of, and I think it's usually used in health and fitness and whatnot, but it's like if you are going to commit to something, it's one thing to tell yourself or tell your loved ones, but you have to make a public declaration about it and tell other people, that whole thing.
Yes.
And how much more you stick to it because you put, you know, your reputation behind your word. And this is what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to make it happen. I don't want to let everybody down. And I think that's a huge factor. It's just human behavior to kind of let ourselves off the hook a little bit and then maybe disappoint ourselves and then go through a cycle. And then that keeps you more stuck. So putting yourself out there with accountability and other humans is very helpful.
Yeah, I think you talked about that in your course. I think I remember you saying you have to make a public declaration of whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
And I agree completely. And I even did this leadership training class years later and they talk about that too. Like you don't just write down your goal. You write it down and you put a date too. So I'm going to do this, you be specific, and I'm going to do it by this date. And then you say it out loud.
Yeah.
And you tell a certain number of people.
Yeah.
And that's what you did, and it worked. So
yeah, kind of a tangent, but as you said that, and then I'm like, yeah, why did I do that? And I don't take more credit than credit is due. It's like everybody is amazing, and with the right tools, I think there's so much possible for all of us. And so I appreciate your kind words, but I'm like, what did I do? What's the truth here? And I'm like, I just did not want to embarrass myself. I needed to keep going because I said I was going to do it. I needed to do it. So I think that getting it in your body to your point of like saying it, writing it, doing it, so much more of the start with the actions and then all of the results will follow versus just the beliefs. It's let's take it a step further and get it into ourselves physically. It's like if you were going to go and do a public speaking event and you never said the words out loud, you only practiced it in your head, it would be, terrifying the moment you got up there.
Yeah, that's true. Let's rewind a little bit. I want to go back to, now that you talk about the income report and stuff, I think it would be good for people to understand where you came from and to where you are now. So, because we worked together at True Fusion, but then after that, what did you do after?
I went straight to the social bungalow. I don't know if you knew that, but so at True Fusion, I was doing marketing, and prior to that was all marketing too. So every job in corporate company, marketing. And then at True Fusion, I had a co-director of marketing. His name was Jake, and Jake and I were thick as thieves, and we worked really well together in the way that we would yin and yang our skills. So he wanted to leave, and he was like, what if we did this whole dog and pony show between the two of us ourselves? Okay. And so he said, let's start our own outsourced director of marketing company, and we will help local businesses, and we'll do social, and we'll do marketing plans and all that fun stuff. So he jumped first and left and started to scout around and was like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? And so then I started side hustling from True Fusion with Jake, and we were trying to come up with a name for our company, and together we called it the Social Bungalow because social we wanted for sure, and we were trying to find like a homey word of some sort, throwing things out, bungalow. So we had clients, and that was good. I don't think I think maybe I did leave corporate at that time, but it was very quickly that he was then moving to San Diego, and because his fiance had an opportunity out there, and he's like, do we want the social bungalow to be by state, or do we disband it because it was so new? And I said, as I've been in this, being behind the scenes again for companies and for brands, and I love it. I love marketing. I just have this itch to where I want to be the brand. I want to make courses. I want to be a speaker. Okay. And I remember telling him this on the phone, and I felt silly saying it too. Yeah. I was like, I want to be a speaker, like, haha, And he was like, okay, pop off, go get it. And I was like, cool. So disband. Are you okay if I keep the name? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. So he went off and continued to do outsource behind the scenes, social media management, and all that good stuff. And then I started to slowly turn the Social Bungalow into me educating, and I was still doing a lot of done-for-you work. But then through that process, I started to teach more, and then it turned into full education and coaching.
So how did you start to teach more? Like, what was that first thing? Because, like, you had this idea, right? And I think most people, that's how it starts, right? You get this idea, and it maybe seems crazy at that time. But what was like step one? to getting there?
Yeah. Step one was an Instagram story every day, Monday to Friday, with just an educational tip of some sort. And I would just go on, and it was kind of scattered in the beginning because I was finding my footing in this online space and what the female entrepreneur really needed, but it would be from my marketing expertise. And so there was some stuff that was actually helpful and some stuff that was just like, oh, wow, that's really smart. And so through this process of day one, I'd have a copywriting tip. Day two, I'd have a social media tip. People started to reach out and say, you know, can you host this? Can you tell me more about this? How would you handle that? And then I would take their questions and I would share that, maybe not their name if it was personal, but I got this great question and now I'm going to answer it. So people saw that you could come to me and get support. And that whole process of positioning myself as an educator by first educating is what did it.
So then you just took all of the questions, and is that how you built the courses? In a way, or
the first course that I did was right before 5-Figure Instagram was called the Binge-Worthy Bundle, and it was just about writing content and not about like dominating on an app. It was like, how do I create really quality content that people want to read and that gets reactions? And that was just all my marketing experience plus what I was doing right then and there on Instagram that I distilled into this course. And so I sold that initially, made a big splash of it, and that went fairly well. That was kind of the bug for me, and that was the clarity for my audience of what I do to where then I was able to kind of be liberated to continue down this course path from there. Yeah.
Because at first you didn't, and I think this is where people get stuck, is they have the idea, then they show up online. They don't do a good enough job of engaging with their audience to really discover what their needs are, or they build a course before really figuring that out, and then it doesn't sell, you know, and all those different things. But you just kind of dove in, and then you figured it out along the way. In the beginning, it sounds like you didn't know exactly what it was going to be.
Totally did not know what it was going to be. And I always say, don't overthink it, because you will figure it out through the clarity follows action phrase, but also through the humans that you're working with. They will tell you what they want, and you will learn who you do and don't resonate with and who you do and don't help the best. And you'll find some person and you'll just be on fire for them, and you're going to start to form like a dossier on who this person is. And sitting down and trying to fill out an ideal client avatar, you know, worksheet only goes so far until you actually get with the people.
Totally.
So that was a lot of it. And the other thing that I want to say, if you're listening or watching to this, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, so you had all this time to just produce free content and not actually be monetizing until that first course came. I was still fulfilling for local businesses, and I was doing the stuff I didn't want to do. I was, I was writing content for a kids consignment store, posting. Do you remember that?
I remember that. I think you had asked me about maybe modeling with the kids or something at one point.
We did a photo shoot, and I was like, let me call all my cute mom and kid combos. But yeah, I was out in their store helping them with that. And that was awesome. And it was cool. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, but not what I ultimately wanted to do. I also then started to get a couple of online-based clients, but I was doing kind of the grunt work of writing manual comments on their webinar to get everything plugged back in, tedious thing, you know, all of that stuff. And I'm doing this to pay the bills while I'm on stories every day educating and like dreaming about what my course can be. So being okay with the fact that you will have a phase one, which is, I always call it the angel investor into the scaled up version of your business, to do what you need to do now, be happy to be scrappy so you can get where you want to be.
And be happy to be scrappy. I like that. So how long was that process though of you? Because I feel like, and maybe it was just the viewer watching, it seemed like it was so fast, but I felt like you took off pretty quickly.
It was, by the time I left corporate, and then that was mid-May, and then by the time I launched that course, that was November. So,
yeah.
6 months.
Fast.
Yeah, 6 months.
And when you launched, what was how many did you sell, like in that?
I don't know how many I sold, but it was $16,000 and some change for like a $97 product. So whatever that math was.
Okay, so $97 product, and you made $16,000. So that's pretty good. Did you already have like this email list or no?
Yes, that was one of I prioritized Instagram and the email list. So I just had a free resource link in my bio and would drive people there to the call to action on posts, and then drive people to the DMs to ask me anything, to chat, to work together. And that was my 1-2 punch for that 6 months of just get in the DMs or get to my email list.
What was your free resource?
Something about content, which was great
Okay.
because I'd been forming this audience off of the expertise being content oriented by the time I launched the content course. So it had been this big list building under the guise or the topic of content by the time I launched
Okay.
content. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that, and so 16,000, and then what, like, can you tell us kind of the progression of what that looks like?
Yeah, then I spent all of December working on the full Instagram course because all those people were like, I love this content course, but how do I stories and how do I,
Yes.
follower growth and all that? So I built that out during December and I launched it mid to late January, and that launch was 101,000.
Wow.
Right then and there. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I remember writing in my journal over and over and over again. I was like, I will make 100,000. I will
Yes.
make 100,000. I just wrote it
Yeah.
like every day. And then from there, the rest of that year, I released 2 or 3 more programs, and it was really great because it was for the people who had currently purchased, and they were like, now how do we launch like you're launching?
Yeah, yeah.
So I made Live Launch Academy, and then those people were like, all this is great, content, Instagram, and launching, but what if my offer is not that awesome? How do I really optimize my offer? So I made an offer program. And so I ended up with 6 courses at the end of it, and I was building it for the people, but the launches were getting bigger and bigger because all the current students were buying, and then I was calling in new people in my ramp-up process. So I was kind of doubling up every time as it snowballed.
It's so cool. So let's talk about, so how many are there now? Like is there 6?
There's 6 now, yep.
Okay, so name all of the different ones.
Okay, Binge-Worthy Bundle, which is content. 5-Figure Instagram is all things app. Business Expansion Blueprint is your offer, but also your offer suite. So what happens after course when you go to group program, mastermind, one-on-one, and figuring all that out with your pricing, your systems, and your team. So that's all things operations.
Okay, that one's the blueprint? Okay. And then what are the other ones?
High ticket sales system, which is selling high ticket online.
Yeah.
And then 8 weeks to evergreen is building out an evergreen funnel. And then Live Launch Academy, which is launching an online offer.
Okay. And then is there anything that has like all of them or no?
I did do that 2 years ago. I did something called Sophisticated CEO Suite, and you could get all 6 of the courses and then 6 months of support in a group capacity. And that was great, but because they are such academic programs,
it's like too much.
It was too much, yeah. And if we're going to do a group program with 6 months of support, it needs to be very centralized and core and not these entire encyclopedias of information.
Because they're not going to go through it all,
Yeah.
more than likely. Okay. So let's talk about offers. And tell me how that is so important to like, because you take a lot of people that already have offers, right? Those are your clients, and they're just not doing well, and then you revamp them essentially.
Yeah, I come in and make over, do like an architecture digest redecorating.
Yeah. What do people do? What's like the most common thing they're doing wrong?
So I love to help the intermediate who's at that messy middle. And they're like, I have tried and done, and I've seen some success and I've seen some struggle, and I'm not sure what's going to make this pop and go. Because I'm really at this point where I can make X amount of money and know that I could sustain that, but I want more and I want different, or I want to be making the same amount and working less.
Okay, so like they're having, like, what are they generating monthly?
The most common is I'm at between $10,000 and $20,000 months. And so I know I can make that, but I'm doing it by working 7 days a week, or I'm doing it with the same old, and I'm really burning out in my business. And I need to find a way to shake this up and make more because I know that there's more to be made.
Okay.
So common problems, they almost always are diluting their expertise by having it copy and pasted into different types of offers. Meaning, if I was going to teach you how to make an offer and I did it in a high ticket one-on-one coaching, I did it in a group program, and I did it in a course, a lot of people will just go buy the course because they can save money and get the information. And then they're saying, well, why aren't you buying the group program and then the one-on-one?
Yeah.
Well, I already got the information and I was able to save the money. And they're expecting that people value the support, which they should, but they value saving money. So there's a lot of copying and pasting their expertise into different offers.
Okay. So you're saying that people, they need the support, but they don't typically want to pay for it.
Depends on the person, yeah. But the difference that I would do for that person is, let's take, if your entire expertise is creating an offer, let's split it up a little bit. So if you had a course, let's do all things expertise discovery, ideal client avatar, market research, market validation. So you've got this really clear vision and idea, and now you need to build the thing. So then you come to the group program, and that's like a build the offer extravaganza. Now that you built it, you need to launch the thing, or you want to be able to add on secret menu backend upsells and downsells to make more money. Come up to work with me one-on-one to map that out. And that would be, we need to pull it apart with specialty.
So it's like really breaking it down. So because more than likely, if you put everything in one course, maybe they aren't going to finish it or something anyway.
Yeah.
So if the entry is this portion and you're comfortable to pay that at that time, and then if it's really good, then you want to go to the next level.
Yep.
And so then you got value, so you're willing to ascend, I guess.
Yeah. And the ascension model is like the value ladder and all of that. That's your most common that you'll see typically in any business, but in the online space especially, because it's so simple to see step 1, step 2, step 3. Some people that doesn't work for their expertise and they're like, I need a big kahuna package where I do teach them all this and I do support them. And in that instance, that's totally fine. You're just going to charge appropriately and have that be the group experience or what have you, and then not try to put that same thing into self-study courses, into templates, all of that, because you're going to bastardize your ability to make more money. And I guess a good example to call back to my story where I was then selling the next thing to the existing students is that Forbes just published an article where they said your purchasers, your current customers are 50% more likely to make a purchase from you, obviously, and they are going to spend 30% plus on average more when they make that purchase.
Yeah.
So they're going to come up to the group program and be like, yes, I want the VIP tier. Yes, I want the added one-on-one call. Yes, I'm going to go to the in-person event because they know you and they trust you. And our ability to make sure that we're separating our expertise to suit their growth journey is going to go deeper by being more specific at every offer. And then when they come up with us for more and they come up with us for more, they're going to add on more. They're going to be more participatory. They're going to feel like the star student. They're going to understand you. They're going to get it done. They're going to have the foundations from the previous one. And you'll just be able to sell and facilitate better. And the easiest thing that you can use when you're selling is the third-party verification of other people's results. And so if we're not able to get those, we'll typically say, all right, well, then maybe it was the container. Like I tried to do this topic in a course and maybe they needed support. So now I'm going to do this topic in a group. All right, maybe they didn't want group. Let me try it in one-on-one. And then the people who bought are like, do I need to buy again? And the other people are like, I'm confused as to what you do. And that's typically what it is.
So a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
So I to me, like what I hear is like really simplifying it for them and not basically giving them only what they can handle. Like at first.
Yes. And you would be, the curse of competency strikes every entrepreneur because we know so much and we have so much we want to share and so much we could help you with if you could just get it and go and let's, but the ability to understand things in theory and then to really understand them once putting them into practice, so different. And so I can say, 5-figure Instagram, this is what you're going to do. This is how the algorithm works. And you could be like, oh, that's cool. That makes sense. I just had a breakthrough moment. However, I'm not doing it. So then you start to do it and then you start to learn it and then you start to be able to hack it yourself to where you're like, I'm in control of this. And that might take you 2-3 months. But if I try to have you do that plus your offer, plus your launch.
Oh, you'd be so overwhelmed. Yeah. So that's, it's like simplify and I guess maybe the mistake is people are like, oh, well, if this person wants to pay me for this mastermind or this higher tier, then okay, but then they're not going to have a good experience if they haven't built the foundation.
Yeah, you will have more advanced people who come straight to you and they're already like, I found you on the internet, been listening to you. I am the person making 6 figures in this example and I see you have a mastermind, get me in there. And that's great because they actually have the foundations to succeed in that container. But the thing I see a lot of times is the excitement behind somebody wants to pay me this level of money and come into this incubator. And then they end up being a bit of a bad apple for you, for the room, for themselves, because they don't have the foundations to have what's being talked about in the room make sense to them. Everybody says, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. However, when you are, people are talking about things that
you don't know what they're saying.
You don't know what they're saying and you don't have those problems yet. And the problems you do have, which if we could just solve those right now, you could have the problems that the people in this bigger room have. You have to be in the right room for you at the right time. And then the host has to be able to facilitate. So that whole conversation is not to say you can't sell to somebody. It's to say, let's vet them and make sure it's the best experience for them too.
So when you get that question, because I imagine that you have, like, and they're not where they need to be, you just redirect them to, okay, start here. And then go from there.
Yeah, which is a nice bow on the whole conversation to say by having a more diversified suite of offerings that have specialty focuses for the different levels or topics. My ability to say, hey, I don't think mastermind is great for you right now because we haven't done X and Y, and this is how you can do it at a much lesser cost. Go make some great money off of this, and then come back around for the next cohort, and this is where you're going to go for now.
Yeah, I love that. And then it does really protect the mastermind groups too. and the networking is going to be more beneficial
Yeah.
because they're all at the same level. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, and it'll help you sell to the higher level people who are made for that room, because they will want to know, like, is this worth? I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because then you feel like you have to coach everybody and connect everybody, and you really want to have an equal partnership where your cup is getting filled, especially if it's peer-to-peer mentorship.
Yeah, I think that's great. When do you have those? Like those higher, what is your highest tier?
Highest tier is working with me one-on-one, and I do that on a monthly basis. And then after, we do very specific focuses during those months, because I learned also with coaching that I don't love to be a sitting duck to the call, like show up and, all right, what's on your mind? Hit me. It doesn't work well for me, and maybe that's the introverted thing, that I want to know what's happening, have a focus. We're really tackling something in a month.
Yeah.
So we'll work on,
Which I love.
like deep dive.
You're like action plan, let's go.
Yes, like we've got to be moving the needle, and we can't jump around too much. And then we'll move on to the next thing and next thing. But after we get the big blocky stuff out of the way, and then they're like, amazing, I've got a back-end sales system that's working for me. My offers are optimized, like money's better than ever. What's next? I'll typically go into a bit of a fractional role where we're paying for a monthly incubator that I'm helping kind of CMO with their business. And I'm also on payroll, basically, for them to be like, can you look at this? Can you advise on this type thing?
So they start off with, what's the length of the one-on-one?
Typically 3 months.
3 months
at a minimum, and then we add on from there if they have more stuff to do.
And you don't advertise that. So they would only know that if they were already in the programs, or they just thought to ask you or something.
A lot of times people will just DM me and say, I'm sure there's something out. Like, because I think the thing that aids me is that it's kind of inception oriented, because I teach you how to make these offer suites with gated back end high ticket. So they're like, you must have a gated back end high ticket. And I'm like, I do. And if they are qualified for it, we jump them kind of fast pass Disneyland style all the way up to that.
So when they come in, is the process, do you just get on a call with them, or do you have someone from your team, or how do you like vet them?
Yeah, it depends on, it's either me or Ryan will get on a call with them, depending on my time, and or if I think that the person might need a different path, then I'll typically say, hey, Ryan, could you, chat with this person? I think that they might be a better fit for X, and I think that would be a good use of your time. If I can tell that the person's going to be a really good fit, everybody is worthy of my time. It's not about that. It's just about, on my discovery and sales calls, am also strategizing. So with them, I'm asking a lot of questions, and I'm like making out a project plan of what we're going to do. Right. And so it is more of a intensive call for me, and I like to do it with the people that I can tell are pretty much going to be a yes.
Yeah, versus the ones that are maybe not where they need to be just yet.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. So it's because I just think some people in this space would be of the mindset of just, okay, if they want to pay me, I'll take them. But that's not really, it might sound like it's like instant gratification, but it'll hurt your business. Yeah. Because if they have a bad experience with you because of that level of where they're at, and then, the group, like, I think that makes a huge impact in a negative way. So it's like, okay, you got their money up front, but then what?
Yeah. And when you're promoting an offer, it's very easy to feel like that's the only thing. Like, you want to shoehorn everybody into it that reaches out to you, because this is what you're selling. These are all the logistics you've just thought through of how to facilitate this thing. And you'll have people who are a bit auxiliary. And I either say, put them on ice for a week until you have some brain space when you're done with this sale to get to the other side of, hey, I would love to work with you. I don't think this is a good fit for you for these reasons. Let's chat in a week's time when I've made my way through this sale. And then getting on a call with them, and it might just be a power hour. You sell them an hour of your time, and you guys are going to work through something. And through that call, it's almost this paid for sales call to where you're sketching out another plan and you're getting some ideas put together, and then they turn into a one-on-one client, or they turn into even a just pop-up secret menu sidebar client that ends up being a great muse for you as you figure out this other need in your offer suite that you're like, right now all I have is this topic, and there's these people and they have these things, and I'm not quite sure what I could or should do, but I know I can help them if I just get intimate with them in a one-on-one capacity.
Oh, that's interesting. So, and Ryan, you're Ryan. How did you guys meet, and how did you end up working together? Because I don't think I know this story.
Yeah, at True Fusion, he was a member.
He was?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't like poaching the members, I swear.
She's like, I'm going to find my husband.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a yoga class and see who's in the room. He DM'd me on Instagram.
Oh, of course.
Very on brand.
Yeah.
And the reason why I had messaged.
So wait, you didn't meet at True Fusion?
No, I
or
didn't
you,
even know he was a member.
You didn't know he was
no,
okay.
But
so he just was following you or saw you?
I showed up on his like suggested people on the app. Like he followed somebody and then the drop down menu
Got
was
it.
me.
Okay.
He liked my picture basically and then clicked on the profile and then sent me a message, which was super clever and pulled in my bio and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, that's cute. And when I clicked over to his page, we had some mutual friends in the True Fusion world, and True Fusion Blue Diamond, I think, followed him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you're not that big of a creep. Like you're in my world. So I messaged him back and started chatting from there, and it went off. Yeah.
But I know, but it's just so crazy because like now in my mind, when I see this love story play out, I'm like, wait a minute. So she finds love, and then this guy just so happens to enjoy what she does, and is like, they work together, and they like created this huge like empire. Like, how did that? What was he doing for work at the time?
Yeah, he was in corporate construction on the Strip, which was very cool. He was doing all these big projects. He was a project manager and on job sites at the Venetian, and he was loving it and really thriving in his career. And I was corporate True Fusion, and so that was just a good little match. And then I started the social bungalow. He stayed at corporate for a long time. We assumed the bungalow coffee lease, and that's when he left to then go and play that out. We were gonna like side hustle it as long as we could, but the writing was on the wall. It was like there's too much to be done here. I just saw, I think it was a TikTok earlier, and it was talking about how you should have pleasure in your relationship, obviously, and that's such a driving, the initial lust and the honeymoon phase and all that stuff. But so many people pick a partner because of how they make them feel from the pleasure perspective.
Okay. I'm really into this topic right now. Keep going. Yes.
And you'll go through phases. I mean, I'm not saying that your relationship shouldn't be built off of the beautiful things, but the most important thing that you should have is purpose, and to know that the two of you have similar purposes in your heart. And it doesn't have to be, okay, what's our perfect straight narrow path is coffee shop. It's that I want to drive, I want to chase, I want to do so much more. And we both had that, not yet entrepreneurially, but we saw it in each other and in our conversations. And on one of our first dates, we talked about just like, oh, we'd love to open a coffee shop, which who wouldn't? Everybody says that. And but when the time occurred and when the whole opportunity presented itself, we were aligned in wanting to chase that. And even now, it's like how much when we had the opportunity to expand into catering, how much that then on and on and on, that we're both just very hungry. And if I was with someone, and I'm very grateful that we ended up being so aligned in that way, if I was with somebody who wasn't, it would pull me down. I would struggle. Yeah. So being aligned in purpose first, pleasure second, I would say is a big factor in all of it.
So let's explore this a little bit, because I completely agree. I have made the mistake of going, the pleasure route.
Yeah.
And, now I'm divorced, but you live and learn, right? But when you met him, how did he make you feel? Because is there a situation where you're aligned in purpose, but you don't have an initial like crazy spark, but then that like builds over time?
We did have a spark, so it's not that wasn't there. I would say, though, the one funky factor that is now a beautiful thing, and I wasn't quite ready for it at the time, is that he was more emotional and he was more present than I was. And he doesn't drink at all, and I was still at that. Yeah, me too. And at that time, I was still very much in the like going out, and the company we were with.
Fun.
The company we were with really glorified like the big parties and the celebrities and all of that, and so that was still a big part of things for me. And he was okay with that part of my life, and he's okay if anybody drinks. But with that, he was just so much. He had no wasted days. He was very clear.
Yep.
He was very focused, and he was very in touch with his emotions. He's been in like a lot of personal development work for many years, and so he was just this really fabulous individual who wanted to show up and do the real work. And I was like, leave me alone, shut up, you're so dramatic in some capacities.
Yeah, did that annoy you at first if you weren't as into that stuff at the time?
No, it was beautiful, and we were so in love, and we had the spark and the honeymoon, but I definitely was like a little bit of a rat because he was like hitting me with all the real beautiful truth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to go, be young and do
right.
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so then we did break up for a bit.
Oh, you did?
You
okay. No, I didn't. This is interesting though.
It was a little like we were kind of like we were on a break more than we were broken up situation. It was fuzzy, but it was definitely, it was struggle bus there for a bit because I wasn't ready to show up at the level that he was showing up for me.
Yeah.
And so then I had to get my life together and have some realizations of what I really wanted and go full force back in with him.
How did you do that?
Well, there was definitely the whole, rock bottom moment of like, I'm going to lose him and I can clearly see that this is my person and I want to be with
Yeah.
them. And so there was that clarity. And then he made me work for it, but I had to, fight and show up and stay consistent.
Well, if
and,
he knew you, that was the right way to go.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that you would value him more if he
walked
challenged
away.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Like, okay, let me show
100%.
you what I can do.
Yeah, if you're just going to like roll over
Yeah.
and be like, oh, just whatever you
Yeah,
think.
you wouldn't
and-
have been into that.
No, I've been like,
No.
done. But yeah, he's like that. He puts his foot down and I need that. And
Yeah.
it's a good fit or a good balance. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like any specific like books or work or moments, but I think it was just this slow growing up that was
Yeah.
happening for me. And he stuck through it for me, which I'm so grateful. And yeah, that he really, we always joke and I'm like, I didn't know I was like a project girlfriend, but I guess I was. And he's like, yeah, you were.
Well, maybe you were just, you were just still evolving.
I was.
And he was, but you were close. I don't think the gap was that far, right? It doesn't sound like.
It wasn't, no. And I think I was like right there and I had this just snap that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I was still like just standing on this precipice and I just needed to jump. I wasn't so far off from it. And so when he was hitting, like in the beginning, all beautiful stuff. And then after a while where I'm like, all right, I'm going to go out. Like, we're out of the honeymoon a little bit. My career is flourishing a bit more, opportunities. Don't cramp my style. He's like, why are you leaving this to go chase that? And we can have both type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
When you start dating at first, I think what a lot of people struggle with, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, because is the asking questions to figure out the purpose, right? Is it's not really, romantic maybe to like really do that discovery that you need to do. And I feel like you're so strategic in so many ways. Were you good at that? Like on a personal relationship
We'll
level?
have to like go out to dinner with him and he will roast me because on our very first date, because he was a member of our gym and I was the marketing director, I sat down at this table and I'm like, so do you recognize like the billboards? Do you look at the exit signs on the way out? I was fully interviewing him like a focus group for my marketing.
I figured.
And he was like, oh, no. He says in his head that he was thinking, oh my gosh, did I completely misread this? And like, she just wanted to meet for coffee to pick my brain as like a member.
Yeah.
So with that, I definitely came in way too hot on that front. But because he's very like go-getter and, we're the same Enneagram and we're the
are
same.
you?
Yeah.
Which is what?
A 3
Okay,
achiever. Yeah.
a 3.
And we're the same, like any personality test, we're the same on all these
Wow.
fronts. Like everything. I'm like, take this test and see exact same results every time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we're very similar in this kind of like steadfast go mentality.
Yeah.
So it was very apparent in getting to know him and the things that we'd talk about. And if I'd say one entrepreneurial aspirational thing, he'd be like, yes, and this. And it was just this like addition versus subtraction feeling.
I mean, were you like bored with a lot of other guys? Because I feel like you would, like it takes a certain type of guy. Just my experience of you back then when I would see you more. I think that you would need someone that could keep up with you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember, but I was dating much older than I should be.
Well, I don't even know how old you are. You never told
good.
me. You didn't want
I'm
people
a
to know.
Vampire.
And so I just assumed like you were younger because of that, right? So I'm like, gosh, this girl, I don't know who's going to keep up with her because she's too like smart for her age.
Thank you. Yeah, no, the people my own age, we weren't jiving.
Yeah.
And so then I was dating like much older. And that's fine. I don't begrudge anybody who finds their person in any walk of life. But the difference of their lifestyle of like they have older kids who are not that much younger than me. And, just the ability to be able to form my own family and chase my own dreams and not be assuming that was something I would have preferred. So I was definitely in these like interesting lockups that weren't like the person was good for different reasons, but the whole picture wasn't.
Right.
And I would say, just speaking of the whole like kind of running away from the emotions and growing up and locking it down, that was probably part of it too, that I was picking people who had capacities that were not all there so that it was safe for me, that I wasn't going to need to fully commit.
Right. Like, well, they weren't boring you because they could have a conversation.
Yes.
But there wasn't the emotional depth that was required for long term.
Yeah, and they were probably in eras of their lives where they were like, "Oh, I want fun now," and I was like, "I need somebody who I can have a conversation with that isn't that serious."
Right.
So we were meeting up at the right time for each other, but that's not where I needed to stay.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I never knew all this of how you guys met and stuff. I just because I don't even know if I've met him.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, I just seen
I
you
know
guys
he
online.
watches your social, so and he's like, Kate
Yeah.
this and Kate that. So he always feel out, and I'll say like Kate something, and he's like, oh, Kate sells Vegas.
Yeah, I know that's so funny because I was gonna change it to Kate Sells Social, because I'm like, okay, that's more on brand. But everyone knows me as Kate Sells Vegas. I'm like, I gotta just leave it. I don't know.
It depends. Yeah, you'll see where it goes from here for you if you want to be attached to Vegas or not. But I don't think that'd be that big of a departure.
You think it would be an okay switch?
Yeah.
I did buy the domain.
Oh, cool. If you did a whole announcement around it and you were like, this is why.
Okay, well,
I think
maybe.
your whole community and friends and family would be so supportive because it's an expansion
Yeah.
of you and everything.
That's true.
But you're not losing. It's like if I go to type in your name or recognize your URL when it pops up on stories, I'm going to still see Kate Sells.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, so.
I know it's interesting. It's always good to get another person's perspective on that. But no, I love talking about the love story, and your wedding date is also interesting too. Isn't it like 4321
Wow,
or something?
good memory. Yeah.
Yeah, I love numbers.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, and my birthday's in April, so I'm 4/5. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And your wedding was beautiful.
Thank you.
Where was it? Where did you guys get married?
Lake Las Vegas.
It was like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember, oh, that's a cute date. I love that.
Well, it's funny. We didn't realize it. We just picked it because it was the Saturday in good weather.
Oh,
My
you,
mom
you
me-
didn't even mean to do it?
No, my mom messaged me and she's like, oh my gosh, you are never going to believe
Oh, that is
what
crazy.
has happened. Yeah, I was like, this
I
is
thought
ordained.
you totally meant to do it because it was
wish.
like so fun.
It's so
and-
strategic.
Yeah.
I'm just going to
Yeah,
own it. I need
that's
to
what I was thinking.
stop admitting this.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow, that's just crazy. So how is he older than you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Not as much as,
Yeah.
the other situations, but yeah.
And
Yes.
now you guys just bought a house,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Like a week ago?
Yes.
That's
week
so
ago.
exciting. And you've been married, well, it'll be 3 years, right?
Yep, in April. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I got to meet him. I got to go to the coffee shop.
Yes.
I
That
mean,
would be
I've been
so
saying
fun.
this for like 4 years.
I
or
know.
3
If-
years.
I think I said this to you earlier. If you don't go downtown a ton, and
Which
it's
I
not-
don't.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's not in your like repertoire or on your route, then you don't
Yeah.
see it a lot. But it's so great being down there. It is such a community. All the people who live around there,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who are in theater and the arts and just nonprofit, and there's
Yeah.
so many fabulous, fabulous people. It has been such a world of getting to meet some of the coolest people I never would have known before.
Well, I do know the power of a coffee shop. Like I worked for Starbucks
Totally.
for 14 years, and
Yeah.
and when people drink coffee every day, so you get to really build a relationship with, them when they come in and see you.
Yeah.
And I loved that part of working there.
Mhm.
Is you just so many relationships. That's what led me to True Fusion.
True.
So, no, I love that. I was thinking of something else I wanted to ask you about. Oh yeah, the podcast. Because is your space at your office, can you build a studio out?
Yeah,
there?
we can. And so we're torn between doing it at the house or doing it there because I don't want to rebuild it when the lease is up,
Okay.
But technically, yes, I could.
Because if you're gonna start, because you're thinking of launching one, right?
Mhm.
Because I just think you would have so many incredible guests. It would be
Thanks, yeah.
cool if you had it at the office, because then you could almost like film them getting coffee and then
Coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah, true. That would be
that
really
would
cute.
be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Is it like parking and stuff is fine?
Yeah, we're one of the only spaces in downtown Las Vegas that has a parking lot and a free parking lot.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should do that. What would you guys call the podcast?
We are working on repositioning right now, so I can't
Okay.
reveal it just yet.
Okay.
But for the whole business at large, we're trying to really sink our teeth into what is the thing about us that makes it different or unique, or something that
Yeah.
you would say or do, or that we can repeat. And now we've come across something with the copywriter that feels really good, and so we're fleshing that into how does this show up on a podcast, how does this show up on a newsletter, and figuring out all that titling right now.
Okay.
So I don't have a name, but I do have a position that we're massaging.
So what do you think is unique about you guys?
Well, the thing that people always say is like, you're so strategic and the
Yeah.
business is so smart and all of that. And I think even though that's great, like making smarter businesses, helping people think more strategically, I think it's like that's a bit of the mechanism or some of the magic behind the curriculum. But I want to have a position as a brand at large that maybe doesn't feel as heady and feels a little bit more palatable to the masses to be able to scale larger. and also has more of a duality in the heart and not just the head. And I think that I get branded into the head a lot because I don't speak to the heart, and I need to be better about that, and I want to.
Well, then that's how you described your relationship with Ryan.
True.
He's the heart and you're the head.
Yes, that's basically 100%. Like he tears up at a commercial and I'd cry once a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to be better at sharing and opening. And I think I'm just a little Capricorn, prickly, childhood trauma-y. So
we all have that.
We all have that. And so there's the introverted side of all that. And just continually pulling back the layers and feeling safe and having community and knowing my story or my thoughts can have such an impact for others, and that keeping you out there and keeping you going, as I encourage my clients and students to do.
Yeah.
So just walking the talk a little bit more, and I think it's a safety blanket for me to lean into the strategic and the smart of all of it.
Okay.
And so that is a safe area. Like, I don't have to think or feel or put myself out there too much if I'm giving an educational tip versus a, emotional or a mindset tip. And so I'm working on being better at that. So I didn't want to do position again, to your question of like, how would you describe? And I'm like, well, currently I would describe it strategic and smart. Yeah. And I want to be more than that. And I want to make a bigger impact than that. So we're working to pick a position that's really suited to the scope of what we want it to be.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I think that you do really well at like encouraging people though, which that requires heart and you share a little bit about, but yeah, I guess you could share more.
Yeah.
Now that I think about
the
it.
only reason you know anything about me is because you know me
that's
separately.
true.
Like if you think about what you see online.
I think I remember you telling me you liked like murder books or something. Is that you?
Yes. Yeah. That's me.
So why do those fascinate you? Because I hate that stuff. I'm like, just give me all the love.
Yes. Well, it's funny. I used to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I just realized in like maybe 2 years ago, maybe COVID-y times, that could have been it too, because obviously that was very heavy, how much low vibration that was instead of high vibration, and how it would, obviously it's very traumatic and horrific. But so listening to true crime, I really stopped. The documentaries, I'm not interested anymore, but reading a fictional thriller where there typically is a murder is very enticing to me. I think it's just such a different world to enmesh myself in, and I love a whodunit mystery, get your brain going spider web. So that's why.
So it's like a fun game.
Yes, it's a fun game.
That makes more sense. But yeah, speaking of low vibration, you said you were writing and manifesting that 100,000 or whatever. What other things or books or resources do you use to visualize or, anything in that like space of manifestation?
Yeah, I love podcasts are my main mode, and I love just short bites and bursts. So I'm always listening to I'm jumping around to different episodes, to different people. I'll hear a person I like, I'll go listen to them elsewhere. So I never have one thing that I'm really into. But I will find a book that has some sort of new framework in it around discovering something about yourself. And that always hooks me. So my recent one has been Do the Inner Work, something like that. And I saw it on TikTok, and it was talking about this kind of tracing back of what your pattern is, like your unhealthy pattern, based off of this list of if you have these things from childhood trauma. It's so good. And there's like 7 to 9 types. And mine is stay in the overwhelm. And so my like protective mechanism is to just stay busy.
Yes, so I don't have to deal with your emotions.
Yes, so that you don't have to deal with things. And it's just laid out for you like, wow, you should have tagged me next time as you're reading this page, and it's so accurate. And then you read about that section. So that's been one that I've really loved recently.
Does it tell you how to?
Yes, and then it gets into the work and all of that. And for me, I think I just love a breakthrough moment, maybe because we consume so much that there's so many voices that I'm like, tell me something I don't know. And even if it's what I need to hear, if I've heard it before, I almost don't value it as much as hearing something in a new way.
Sure.
So that's, I'll like ever consume and find new things, and then that'll be my thing for a minute, and I'll go down a rabbit hole.
Do you do any like meditation or anything like that?
Not a ton. I go on a lot of walks. I love walking, so that would be more so my type. Are you into human design at all?
I was just talking about this the other night with Lauren from upstairs.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by it all, but I don't know a bunch about it. So Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about it either, but I did have my whole chart read. And the interesting thing beyond the main types, like your generator, manifesting generator, all of that, is that when you have your chart done in particular, it tells you each of these areas of your body, kind of chakra system-esque, which one is open or closed. It's not the right word for it, but it's something like that, defined or undefined. And then what that means and how you process, blah, blah.
Okay.
So I have always been a walker. Like I'm the friend where you send the meme and it's like your friend who says, let's just walk there. And then the walk there is actually to Egypt. That's me. I just love to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I also, if I read or if I get silent or if I sit with it, it just does not come to me. But if I go move and it's just a walk, suddenly the whole universe is downloaded into my brain.
Yeah.
So I had this reading done and they were like, oh, wow, do you like to walk? Because it says that you receive information through going on a walk. And I was like,
cool.
well, look at that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's also interesting on the meditation front. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal practice, but I don't think it always works for everybody. And I think
agree.
people who it doesn't perfectly work for feel really guilty and like there's something broken or we should, or it's this like, it's almost as if somebody says, oh, you know that episode of The Office or that episode of Schitt's Creek, and if you haven't watched them, you feel shameful and you're like so embarrassed socially. That's in especially personal development spheres, like your meditation practice, and you're like, I don't have one. You're like embarrassed. And that's how I felt for a long time. And then I realized I meditate on my walks, and that's how it happens for me. So yes, I go on a walk every day all the time. You'll see me now in summer.
Yeah, I do not meditate either, but I do like to journal and pray and like different things. So I think it's just, I mean, I sometimes try with like a guided meditation.
Yeah.
But I do think that me in motion is better when I'm thinking, you know, versus, or sitting and journaling if I'm writing it out.
Yeah, still motion.
But yeah, it's interesting. Do you have the Pattern app?
What is that?
Oh, okay. I think it's similar to Human Design because that goes off of your birth chart, right?
Okay. Yes,
Human Design. Okay, so same thing with the pattern, and it's crazy like how it describes you, and then you can put like you and your friend or whoever, you can put people together and see how it says you interact well or not well.
Ooh.
And it's almost always like, I've done this with several different people now. It's almost always spot on.
So you have to fill out your information and it'll have its little profile on you.
Yep.
And then if somebody else has a profile, can sync you guys up and then be like, this is what's your relationship's going to be like.
Yes.
That is amazing.
I would be very curious to see what you and Ryan come up as.
Yeah.
Because like romantically, I think there's maybe like 8 different bonds, and it's like soulmate, extraordinary, meaningful, complex, I don't know, something. They go down from that, right?
Interesting.
But it's really interesting. Like you should totally download it.
I love
and
that.
Tell me.
Yeah, no, that's going to be my new thing.
So, and I need to do that Human Design one to see. So what's your
the type?
Which one are you?
Yeah, generator.
Okay, generator.
Yeah.
And did Ryan do it too?
Yes, he's a generator.
Yeah, because you're always the same.
Yes.
That's right. Duh. That's so weird.
I know.
But don't they say like opposites attract?
I think they attract, but I don't know if they stick.
But do they? But they shouldn't attract, right? Because if like attracts like, because they also say that too.
But haven't you ever like, the bad boy and you're,
all haven't
that.
I ever?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, when you talk about purpose, everything I did, it like Adam he would kind of be annoyed with it, because it wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
Not that it's, anything wrong with him, but when you just have different purposes, then it doesn't mesh.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that's critical, especially when you have dreams and goals that are not like, mainstream. So
I admire you so much for making that move. I cannot imagine how hard that conversation, just the first words, and then the decision and the girls and everything you've had to go through. I mean, I'm going to tear up. Like that is really.
See, you have a heart.
Oh, I do. I have a heart for other people, just not sharing my own. It just is so remarkable what you were able to walk through for yourself and, of course, for your family. That's. Is there anything harder? I mean, obviously loss and grief and different things like that, but in the daily human decisions that we have to make, I cannot fathom being in that position, and I'm so impressed by you.
Thank you so much. It was very hard, and it wasn't like it was just happened, right? Like it was many years of just trying to come together. And and I really respect him as a person
Right.
and as a father. Like, I want to protect that relationship. But the main thing was alcohol, and I think it's really sad. Like, I'm sure so many families are affected by alcohol, and you would never know. From the outside looking in, they look like the happiest, perfect little family, But it was, it just became a real problem. And, but as a result of all of that and that loss and heartache, I stopped drinking. And so that, I think, was a blessing, because I feel so good.
Yeah.
Like, why did I drink this? I don't need this. And we do still have a good relationship. So that was the number one thing for me, because I'm from divorced parents, and I hated that. I mean, you are too, right?
Yeah.
And it's awful. So, I don't know. I think when you're in pain and you're in a relationship that isn't right, in my experience, I tried to keep fixing it for so long. And if it's not gonna, if it's not getting fixed, that's to me a sign that, you're just maybe not meant to be together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the case was for us. But if I could give myself advice, I would say what you did, to be aware of that. I didn't have that awareness of purpose when I met him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 24, and it was, the way he makes me feel, But if you looked at his decisions or what he thought was fun or valued versus mine, they were very different, even from the beginning. And so, but I didn't think anything of it, I'm like, it's fine, because we're soulmates,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
on the drinking front, how long has it been for you now?
like a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it a lifelong thing, or is it a let's see how
I
feel?
mean, it started off as I was trying to inspire him to, not drink too. And, but then I just felt so good that I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know, but I think lifelong. I don't have any desire.
That's great. That's awesome.
Because I just think if I did drink, even if I had a glass or something, I'd probably really feel it and maybe have a headache or
For sure.
It's I don't have time for that.
Yes, I don't have time. I don't have time to
Yeah,
not have
I have things to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on alcohol.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I drink dramatically less than I ever
Yeah.
did. I mean, maybe once a quarter, there's a couple glasses of wine. So 4 times a year type thing. And that next day, for the actually 4 days, it's
You'll feel it?
Yes, the next day I don't feel great at all. I definitely cannot get any sort of brain-oriented work done.
Yep.
The following day, I'm a little crabby. The following day, I'm still a little soggy, but I'm there. And then finally, I'll kind of turn back the corner the 4th, 5th day, and it's
I know, it's awful.
It's awful. It's just poison.
But yet it's so interesting to me, how that's just what you do, right? It's socially acceptable. If you say you don't drink, people are like, well, are you going to always not drink? Because they want you to drink with them.
Yeah.
But my sister, she just turned 30. We went to Napa for her birthday.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
And oh my gosh, so many people were DMing me you went to Napa? What did you do there? I said, I just enjoyed the company.
Enjoyed my most beloved people and beautiful countryside.
It was still fun.
Jeez.
And I'm able to have a good time with them. It was fine. But I just think we definitely need to change. And I do think it's shifting. I feel like more and more people are not drinking or drinking less, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the benefit? There is none.
Yeah, just momentary.
Yeah. And then you gain weight,
Yeah.
so many things.
Totally. It is really interesting societally in being with Ryan and all these years of him not drinking to see you go out to dinner and the, initial question, would you guys like drinks or what have you, which is fine. Yeah, no thanks, just water. Yeah. And then the waiters that are like, oh, come on, something, something. And you're like, oh, no, we're good. And then they come back around with oh, but we're having this margarita thing. Yeah. And I think that is tapering off, but it's been really interesting as previously I would have never thought anything about it myself. But then looking at him across the table, are you okay? In learning his patterns or how he feels about that, which he's fine. But it's what's happening here? Why
know.
is this societally okay? Why is this a part of the training? And even
Right.
pushing it on dessert, which if you're at a Chili's, it's not bad to push a dessert. It's like, we're all
Yeah.
here at Chili's. We're not at, Whole Foods. But to the point of like, if somebody decides against it, if somebody doesn't want the sugar, if somebody's diabetic,
Yeah.
we don't know what's going on with someone. And then it's like, come on. Are you
I
sure?
know.
Something that it's just so very interesting. But I do think, and maybe it was COVID where everybody did drink and eat a little bit more
Yeah.
and then had this kind of awakening in that
Yeah.
time too for many different categories that then coming out of it chose different as we reemerged in society. I think we're a little bit more aware and tender as a culture collectively since that time. So it'll be interesting, this conversation to look back on it in 10 years from now and be like, wow.
I know. Well, like smoking, right?
Mhm.
That was like, I think a lot of people, from what I understand back in the day, everyone smoked. So it was like drinking,
Right.
you know? And then obviously that changed, that
Mhm.
shifted. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. How long has Ryan not been drinking?
13 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it'll be 14 in May, not 12. Yes,
So a long
13.
time. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear more. I need to do a podcast with him now.
I know,
need to
yeah,
hear
gotta
his
get the
story.
story.
Yeah, this is good. And I want, when are you guys gonna launch yours though?
Oh,
Do we
gosh.
know timeline or no?
We don't, because we've got all of these questions too, like the camera and the equipment and the
Yes.
setup and then the investment and making sure everything's ready to go so
Yeah.
that we can just kind of crush it out of the gate. And I'm getting conflicting advice on like, just make it specific to the social bungalow because that's where your largest audience is right now who's going to listen to it. And if you're talking about things that aren't online business oriented, such as, brick and mortar this, they might be interested and give you a listen on one episode, but they're not going to like last around. And now there's so many podcasts that you want to be able to form a listenership off of being quite niche specific so
Yeah.
that you can then expand from there. But our big vision, which maybe I just need a baby step up to it, is being able to have broader conversations across many different types of businesses and people
That's
in
what
life.
we're about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still just kind of hammering out what that's going to look like for us to phase 1, phase 2 maybe, and then figuring out all the logistics of everything. But it was kind of, we did want to put it in the house because of the access and the ease as
Yeah.
well, instead of needing to get to the office as much and then not being tied to that space.
Okay.
But I love your idea about the coffee going up.
Well, I mean, I suppose you could do it at your house too.
Well, we
but-
were going to put an espresso bar up there. So
I mean, do you want to have like a lot of guests or is it more just going to be like the two of you?
probably 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah, to start.
Because, I think it would be cool. Well, you should absolutely be getting on other podcasts.
Mhm.
I mean, have you started that journey yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've been on probably since the beginning, like one a week maybe.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
You need to send, you don't post about those, do you?
I do. Yeah, I share them.
Oh, I miss
But
that.
a lot of times, I mean, this is really fun and been such a great conversation. And it's one part you because
Yeah.
you are just such an inquisitive and present person. So you catch things and you pull threads and you riff. And also us knowing each other. But typically it's kind of the same old questions that I get. And so then I feel
Oh.
bad to tell my audience, like, go listen to this because
They're all the same?
you just listen to me say the same stuff on the last one and the last one and the last one because I get the same questions. I try to mix up
Interesting.
my answers, but there's only so many times somebody wants to hear how to the social bungalow, do this
Yeah.
and that, and things of that sort that I'm like, I don't have any other way to tell this story. It's just the story and it's
Yeah.
the same question. So
This is one thing I love about Ryan is that
which one?
he, my Ryan,
Okay.
or Ryan Pineda, my Ryan. My Ryan, your Ryan. He's not my Ryan. It's Mindy's. But he will just see where it goes,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, generally, like, obviously the guests that he has are, entrepreneurial, like, or faith-based or, all something of his brand pillars, right?
Mhm.
But he just, it naturally will flow.
Mhm.
And I think that's why they're so interesting because it's not the same old stuff.
Yeah.
And like what you were talking about with a personal brand and building like Shannon instead of just Social Bungalow,
Mhm.
like I really believe in that too because all these things about you that there's so many things like we don't know. We're just touching on some of them, but your relationship, especially your marriage, is really interesting to a lot of people, especially people that want to work together.
Yeah.
You're like the Alex Hermosi, and Layla like vibe, but people think that that's really challenging to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it can be. And we obviously have had our
Yeah.
fights and moments. And the thing that's great about it is that Ryan, I mean, me too, but I'll give him definitely all the props, is so emotionally mature and very present. And so he's very much like, will just tell me when something's happening. And then I'm very like, oh, well, let's do something about that. If you bring something to my table that I didn't realize, I want to jump all over it. I'm not an avoidant person. And so he said to me a couple years ago, maybe 3 years, he's like, I feel a little bit like you're treating me like an employee. And I was like, okay, good to know. And it was true in the way that when he really did, because when he left corporate, it was very much so, let's get you focused on Bungalow Coffee. I'm there for the marketing, but you're running logistics, operations, et cetera. And so he owned that, I own this. And then they started to blend a little bit more, less divide and conquer, more like mutually. And so there would be an instance where, I mean, I will tell an employee, this is the directive, this is the feedback, this is what's happening. And so this is the directive, this is the feedback. And I would have to follow up with him. Where's this? Where's that? Another great thing about it is also learning your learning styles together, because he has ADD. And so, and I am very much almost OCD on the side of like, go so deep and get it done. And he likes to like ping pong around different projects. And
he sounds like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are similar.
Like, he's like, goes deep on the emotions, is all over the place.
Yes,
like,
basically.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn his work style, because it was driving me wild to where I'm like, sit down and do this project, finish it. And he would get it done by the deadline. But if I can see him not doing it in the way that I wanted him to do it, it would bother you. But that's me being controlling and bizarre, and not him not doing what he needs to do in his way. So there's always, I mean, it's not all sunshine and roses, and we don't have it all figured out, but there's definitely some fun stories that could be shared, and some great like, learning lessons. And if somebody's like, hey, how do you balance this versus that? And we could say, hey, maybe you have different operating systems. That's what we started calling it, is like, my operating system and his operating system are just hardwired
So in a way, you learn how to communicate more effectively.
Yeah.
If you don't, shy away from the conflict and try to figure out how to communicate better, right?
I think you also have more tenderness towards each other, because you understand that this is how you are, and you're not doing anything malicious, or that you really have the best interest of this project, the company, me at heart, of course. And so I know that this is just how you work, and this isn't something we're changing. This is something that we could optimize and that we can also appreciate. So the awareness factor really is a huge differentiator, because you can do something about it, or you could be tender to it.
Right. When you guys broke up for a little bit, I just was thinking, as you're describing him, and you mentioned like the bad boys and stuff, and that's, I don't know why, I think most girls are kind of attracted to that, right? Because I think we do want a bit of a challenge, and if someone is just so emotionally mature and fantastic in all these ways, it's like, would we even know what to do with it?
Right.
You know, like, did you experience like a feeling of, well, am I bored, or is this not challenging enough? Like in that moment?
I definitely a little like, I don't know, what do I even do with this? Like that first part, not necessarily boring. I mean, Ryan's really, and you'll have to get his story, but he is a recovered bad boy. And so there's a lot of like, there's a lot of grit to him still, a lot of like street smarts.
He's a recovered bad boy.
Yeah. And he's got a lot of, he jokes with me all the time. He's like, oh my gosh, you're so book smart, but you are not street smart. Like the things that I think are happening, or I don't realize are happening in society, or things that I just don't see. He's like an eagle eye, constantly knowing what's going on, knowing how to negotiate, knowing how people work. Like, he's just very analytical. And so he comes with his own special package of historical wildness, and then present day. Like, that's really given him a keen eye for certain, like a great BS meter. And so he's also very sharp and very no BS, but very sweet and very present. So he balances this yin and yang nicely, that it is, to your point, and I think if he was a different person, I would have exactly what you're saying. But because he also is gritty in these different ways, it balances it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting thing for people to think about, is like, pay attention to maybe your emotions that come up when you do find something that's healthy. Because maybe you don't know what to do with that at first, but it doesn't mean run away, right? Like, it just lean in.
Yeah.
But I do think we're scared of that too. Like, you know,
totally.
like you were saying.
Because you have to be, well, you have to make a decision and you can't mess around anymore. And so you're like very culpable for this person's emotions because you're not both kind of messing around. It's like they're all in. What are you going to do? And you have responsibility here. But then additionally, it's all your own stuff of like, am I really ready to be fully seen? Yes. Am I really ready or feel worthy of being fully loved? And all that stuff that we run away from so we don't have to experience it. And it's not even I don't want to experience the love. It's I don't want to open myself up again and get hurt. And so if that happens, if I do go gooey and I let you have it all and you don't take care of it, I will be further destroyed. And it's safer for me to not even enter into it.
And I think that goes with, like, this is what I love about social media and showing up and being seen online is I think the more work you do on yourself and working through those things and really just loving who you are and all the weird parts about you too, then you can show up and serve more people, online. And they go together. So it's like a process of content creation, but also you just finding yourself and loving yourself. Like, I don't think it needs to be toxic. It can be healthy and you could grow. It doesn't have to be this messaging of comparison and not feeling worthy. Like, it's what you make of it. And I really think that it can be used as a tool to help you and others.
I agree. And to the point of society changing, I really look forward to more I guess like allowance of change, because I think something that keeps people stifled is I don't want to share my thoughts or my opinions right now on social because I know they're not fully formed. Like not on a topic that you should be informed on if you're going to speak on it, absolutely. But like I'm going to share about my opinion on this light thing or how I'm feeling on this or a story that I went through. And then they think, well, I don't know everything there is to know. I'm not fully evolved where I want to be. And now I'm not saying, right when you're in the middle of the thick of a situation, but going on stories and saying, my thought on this thing happening in society is this. They're like, is that my thought? I mean, it is my thought. It's what I would say to my friend. But if I'm in front of this stage of people who are going to have an opinion of me, is it going to age well? Am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to phrase it a weird way? Do I not have as educative of an opinion as I should? All of that. And so then it's like, never mind. What's the point? Attention? Why do I even want to go and share that? And I think as a society, we need to be able to let somebody in this moment share what they have to say. And if it's not harming anybody or uneducated or spreading misinformation and they're just sharing a story and what have you, to be like, thanks, that was really interesting and I got to know you better. And then in a year from now, when they say, what's interesting, I told a story a year ago and this is what I thought the point of it was, but really here's the crux of what, here's what I was hiding, here's what I didn't realize I was feeling. And in a year from now, I'll have an update. I think we haven't allowed people that process as much online. And so we're all scared to share because we don't want to say something wrong and be in this minefield of, cancellation or just having your soul crushed and be beaten down by people on the internet and sit there and say, I tried to put myself out there and I wanted to share something that I thought would be helpful and it ended up going viral and getting taken the wrong way and now I'm hiding for 2 months.
Well, that happens, right? As we know. Shayna, who works with us here, I don't know if I introduced you to her. Yeah. She had a video that went viral, over 1 million views. And it was a video of her talking about her breakup. Okay. And the comments, she had a lot of really wonderful comments. Okay. A lot of really nasty ones. Ugh. I mean, really nasty, like just mean. And you're like, gosh, what? Why does someone feel like they need to do that? Yeah. But, okay, as I hit myself with the mic. She is so good about knowing what comes with putting yourself out there, that is going to happen. And it has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with them. Yeah. And so she just, she lets it go. And then she responds in a loving way. And I think there's something to that too, that like, okay, you're going to have haters. If you do share your opinion, you will. It's if you're in the middle that you don't, and you don't really make any traction. Yep. But you can inspire them to think differently too, because they're just hating on you because of whatever trauma they're dealing with. Yep. But we don't have to respond in that way. We can change it. We can, be different. And I'd like to see more of that. Like more people having the courage to show up authentically and vulnerably and then handling the hate.
Yeah.
You know, because that's, I don't know, I almost think that's important too. Like, learn how to take that and know that it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it's hard. I mean,
Yeah. No, I thought that was beautifully said. Great soundbite. Somebody pull that tape, put it on social.
I'm hitting myself with the mic. Yeah.
I think there's such an interesting practice as a human of caring, and that's why we did it. But then being attached to that and unattached to some of the reaction.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't not care because I'm unattached. I cared enough to put it out there, but I don't care enough to be taken down by an adverse opinion or reaction to me. And that is a really fine balance in trying to not, have an emotional flare up or have your heart drop out of your butt when you see a nasty comment. Oh my gosh, I got this email. It did not impact me one little bit. It made me laugh. And I was like, just delete it. It's fine. But the team wanted to, I'm like, no, just let it go. Where somebody named Thomas, shout out Thomas, responded to my email blast that I was sending to my email list and said something ludicrous. I can't even remember all of it. And it was a lot of curse words, which I won't say, but it was like, you little this, and this. I'm going to skin you and wear your skin. This whole big thing. Like, what's the movie? Clarice. Silence of the Lambs. It was like a Silence of the Lambs poetry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I mean, Ryan was really obviously freaked out by it because, in the role that he plays in my life, he was like, should we do something about this? And the whole point of the message was that they wanted to unsubscribe from the email list.
Yeah, they just decided to be very creative.
And say like how much they did not want me to email them again. And
it's disturbing.
It's so disturbing. And it's like, how did you, and so then I said, can you just out of curiosity look up how Thomas got on our email list?
Yeah.
And then they looked it up and they're like, yeah, he joined 2 months ago, just signed up for the newsletter randomly. I'm like,
that's so sad. That's so crazy though.
So
it's
creepy.
Like, it makes you wonder, gosh, like what?
Disturbing.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like with mental health. But
yeah,
that's that one. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, you put it in perspective for me there. That one might have been hard to take.
Well, it's funny because that one was, I feel nothing, but that does not freak
well,
me out
that's
whatsoever.
disturbing.
It's just disturbing, yeah.
Because it's like you feel unsafe.
Yes.
Versus just like you're ugly or annoying.
Yes.
Right?
It's the ones that sting harder in day-to-day society are the emotional, societal, little vicious troll comments that you then sit with and you're like, oh, am I annoying? Am I coming off weird on video?
You will be annoying to some people.
Yep.
That's just,
and you should
it's
be.
okay.
Yep.
Like, because you're not for everyone. You know, that was a lesson I had to learn. Well, I think we all do at some point, hopefully. But
6th grade, 7th grade.
No, I didn't learn it till I was like 30. I know.
I agree. I'm just saying it happens in middle school and you're like, why? What's happening? Why are you guys being like this?
Well,
and then
I
you're
used
30
to
and you
be like,
realize.
I didn't have it happen to me, I don't think, when I was younger. Because I was like the people pleaser. Okay. That was like me. Yeah. Where you could put me in any room, I was a chameleon. I would just adapt and like it. And I thought, oh, this is such a great skill. But it really, I mean, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because then you don't even know who you are. Mm-hmm. You don't have a voice. And then you end up with the wrong people because you're not standing in your truth. Yeah. You know? Like, I don't get the sense that you were like that ever. I feel like you were so grounded, I don't know, in like who you are. You weren't trying to like please everyone.
Yeah, I was just very, very shy, painfully shy. I didn't have many friends.
Oh, you were?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I only kind of came out of my shell in 5th, 6th grade, but I was extraordinarily shy, didn't talk, didn't go to recess, went to the library.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you were researching.
I was.
She's like creating plans.
Yeah, I was like blueprint documenting. Yeah. But no, I was so extraordinarily
You're giving
shy.
the teachers new curriculum.
Basically. Check this out. I remember there was this, I would always go to the library and there was this game called Pickles where you would pull a little laminated pickle that had a quote in it, a fact on it. And you had to go then throughout the whole library, figure out what book it was from, and then like get the answer.
You loved this.
Oh yes. And so I would do pickles every day on my lunch break. I would take my lunch to the library, eat, and then play pickles by myself. And every time then you had your elective of library, they'd be like, "And the winner of this week's pickles is Shannon."
That is
I'm
great.
like, thank you.
That's your cut, Lila. You should. I have to have Lila come check out the coffee shop with me because that sounds like. Well, because she's like a kid. Obviously, she's 10, but she doesn't really like to engage with other children.
Yeah.
Because she's not I guess, mentally stimulated.
Yes.
And that sounds like how you were.
Yeah, it was. And I was also just so in my head and super duper shy. And we moved around a ton. So I was always the new kid. And I just didn't want to like put myself out there and start. I went to 10 different schools.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we moved constant. Like every 6 months I would be somewhere else. And yeah, so I just
that must have been hard.
It was super, yeah. And it was easier to just not put myself out there. So
Yeah.
there would oftentimes be like one super nice kid who would like see that in me and would have a little tender heart and come over and like befriend me, and we'd be best friends for that like 6 to 12 months. And then I'd move to a new school and, kind of have to start over. And so that's where a lot of my like, as per this therapy session on this podcast,
I know. That's where it goes sometimes.
A lot of my like not putting myself out there and not being super this, that, and the other is from just always
that
being,
experience.
Just always being so shy. I was already a quiet kid. In my head, my mom had me younger, and then we hung out with her friends, and so I was always around her adult friends for much of my life, and her adult friends didn't have kids yet, so I was kidless, and all my friends were adults. And then I'm in school, and then we're moving around a lot, and I'm like, it's just easier to not put myself out there.
When did your stepdad come into the picture?
When I was 17.
Oh, you were older.
Yeah, Desi and I have different dads, so
I knew that, but I just didn't. So for a while it was just you and your mom?
Yes, we were Gilmore Girls in it up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And because so it was just you guys until 17, and then how old were you when Desi was born?
I was 10 when Desi was born.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then we both got our stepdad I was 17 and she was 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you excited when she was born? Was it like a doll? Or?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The most ecstatic thing that's ever happened. Jumping, screaming, bouncing on couches.
You're like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah. And I was like, I get to be a sibling. Like I didn't see this for myself. And just been obsessed with her since the day that she was conceived, basically. She is like the light of my life.
And now your niece.
And now my niece.
Because I see that. You can tell when you post about her, like how much you love her. Mm-hmm. And
obsessed with her.
I think that's cool. Okay, but wait, I have to ask you.
Yes.
Okay, knowing that story that is so beautiful about your sister being born.
Yeah.
But then you said you only want one.
Yeah, sorry.
That doesn't make you want another.
I mean, who knows, what God has in store for me. But if I am making my, you make plans and God laughs, that whole thing. But my plan is just one.
Yeah.
Just one.
Do you care, boy or girl? No.
A girl. I want a girl so bad.
Oh, that's funny.
Sorry. I mean, if I get a boy, that'll be amazing too. Yeah. And I'll be blessed for a happy, healthy pregnancy and child. So just putting that out there. But yes, I want a girl. We're all a family of girls everywhere.
We have girls everywhere in ours now too. Like nobody can get a boy.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's just so interesting how that works.
Yeah. But I also, on the one front, really feel with how close I am with my sister and how much I love my niece, like she's my own, that we will raise them together so tightly that it will be from a cousin perspective, like a sibling.
Yeah.
So that's my
totally.
And then they're gonna be closer in age than
Yeah. No, that's true too. I didn't have cousins really I mean, I had cousins, but the age was different. So, and now my girls have cousins that are similar in age, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Because they're like siblings. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I know we got off on a tangent, but I still think it's interesting. And so are you going to start posting, like, how does this work if you are building up your personal brand? Mm-hmm. What does that look like?
I'm torn on if I want to start incorporating more of me into the social bungalow, and then it'll really feel like a personal brand with just a company name, or if I want to start a personal brand page and then build that up while also sharing little smacklings on social bungalow like I currently do.
Okay.
But then I'm diluting my effort and their attention, and the thing that I need to bear in mind is sales. Like I do still need to constantly produce in a way that people are attracted to where they're buying. And if all the fun stuff is going over to the personal brand page where I'm not really selling instead of the business page, then it's like, am I diluting my ability to monetize?
Yeah, I mean, with Ryan, he doesn't, it's Ryan, right? And then, I mean, he sells a lot of courses and coaching. So, I mean, I guess that's the mindset we have.
Yeah.
Is you would just convert, I guess, your current account, right?
No,
it would be on there, but you would be Shannon.
No, I'm going to leave the
You're
social
leave
bungalow.
That?
Yeah, because it's its whole own business entity, and I'm trying to just have my own presence.
And you just build up that and incorporate the other one.
Yep.
Okay, I see.
So it's like I was like, I'm just at the top of 2024 because everybody loves like, a nice clean start. And so I was thinking like, I'll just make my Shannon account and then I'll just start on both accounts producing from both areas. And realistically, just with the scope of or depth of client work that I do and how much like deep thinking I do in a day, and I have to be very batch forward about content to produce it. I'm like that. I'm not going to be suddenly not just creating content for one account, but for two accounts when I'm already like barely hanging on over here because of how much that I'm like thinking and being deep for other people's businesses, not just mine. That I was like, let me just pause on that and keep going here. Let me get the positioning rolled out, the refreshed website, the podcast, and then I'll make a decision. And so when I get asked about that, like, where are we going to see this kind of roll out? Eventually I will absolutely have that personal page because I do want it to be built up like, Layla Hermosi and Cody Sanchez, and they have their names and they're sharing from this perspective of, hi, I'm a thought leader and I have this personal life, but I'm also a thought leader and I have these businesses that you can go check out. And that's where I want to get it to where I don't have to just be like, you're seeing me do my morning routine on the Social Bungalow. You're going there for personal and value, but you're coming over here to really see like the inner workings of my day. And then sharing the podcast video cast as a collab post, probably when it's more online business oriented with Shannon posts it in collaboration with Social Bungalow, so it's on both pages. And if it's something that's not Social Bungalow value, then it wouldn't be on that page type thing.
Okay.
That's my thought.
So maybe, how many months out are we?
I don't know.
You know these things.
Well,
I feel like
I don't actually. No, I mean, I just to circle back and tie a nice bow on this, public declarations, like we said at the very beginning,
let's
and
make
accountability. My thought here is that I'm working with some vendors who are helping me with some copy and with some design, and I'm like, is this a universe thing? What's happening? But it keep hitting delays after like this person goes to corporate, and then this person, and so they're side hustling my project, and then this person's like, I don't want to move forward till I get the thing from them, but then they're delayed, and I keep hitting all these delays. And so I thought, you know what, before I'm rolling out all these new things, let me really leverage what I have currently. And so I'm doing this 4-week sale that I've been that you might have seen.
The Eras tour.
And so it's like, let me just lean into what I have. Let me talk about my current pieces more. Let me not be so excited to get on to the new and the shiny, and let me make sure that I've really like squeezed the, everybody who's in my audience getting an opportunity to really understand what's at play for them, what's available for them. So that's my focus at the moment. Let them just kind of do their thing and get everything rolled out in the way that it needs to be. And then when I'm on this precipice of like, let's say by summer, everything's ready to kind of push live, I'll be able to have more clarity on a plan and a timing from there. So maybe Q3 even, based off of where we're at right now.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm excited because I want to learn more about Shannon. Even though I know you, but I don't know everything. Because I think it would just be so interesting. And then you guys as a couple and all of these things, even like your sister, you doing something with her and talking about what she's done and all with her TikTok. Like there's just so many different things about you that I think so many people would love and connect to. I connected even just with, yes, I did know you, but it's not like we were besties. But you're with Social Bungalow, and you just give us, obviously it's more niche with what you share, but you do share part of your personality, and you're like funny too.
Thanks.
Which I didn't know. You were so funny.
Thanks, girl.
Anyway.
Yeah, I need to be better about that. I think my personality and my like leading a company and leading a community need to meet each other because sometimes I just lean a little too hard into the like girl boss too close to the sun.
Yeah, totally. But you're so good at that. But if you just blend maybe, just a little bit of
a little sprinkle.
A little sprinkle of, what makes you uniquely special aside from your girl boss mode. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. And I want to get you on some of our other podcasts. So
love it.
You stay tuned because I think Wealthy Business, well, Javi just mentioned it upstairs too. That one I know will be a great episode. And he'll stay on track. He'll stay in the zone. I'm the spastic one that goes everywhere.
I love it.
This is my podcast. So
you could do what you want.
I can do what I want.
And that's that special Kate Sparkle.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and just being so present and like pulling so many things out and being open to where it went. And then there's just so many through lines back to business, but also the human behind the business is the business. So
totally.
thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I just purchased, I never remember the name.
Yeah.
I just remember the number 8.
8 weeks to evergreen.
8 weeks to evergreen. Here we go.
Yes.
So I'll
Build
give
a
my
funnel.
review on that.
Perfect.
Once I get through it. I'll know the name by then. Okay.
All right. Thank you.